Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm John Clay, your Chief Strategist and host of Benefits with John Clay. And we've got a great show for you today. We're going to launch a three-part series in how we administer and talk about the safety on whether or not you believe you have less risk by being fully insured. Do you believe that? Do you really believe that you have less risk by being in fully insured medical plans? You might want to rethink your approach. Shout out to our sponsor, none other than Better Source Benefits, www.bettersourcebenefits, benefits options solutions. So last time we broke down our medical plans and how they're built. And we were out last week, but this week we're highlighting the true risk of fully insured health plans. And this is a touchy subject for a lot of people because they feel like for many years they've had security with Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, Humana, and they've had the comfort of a level funded premium, predictable amounts of cost going out each month. And, each year they review with the prettiest spreadsheets that you can ever imagine. And they compare benefits, they compare premiums, and say, yep, this is the best one for us. Now, all that is a pie in the sky thing, because when you finally break down the thing into what you're really buying, there's some fishhooks in this thing that we're going to highlight for you. And today is part one of a three-part series. And we're going to talk about 9 different components, and we've got 28 of these. And it's going to open some eyes, we hope, and give you a better perspective on what you're actually buying when you get into a fully insured medical plan. Because it's crazy what we're going to share with you, and let's just get right into it. The true risk of fully insured medical plans. Let's start. Number one, how many of us remember the Affordable Care Act? Well, that was March 23rd of 2010 when the Affordable Care Act was signed into law by Congress and President Obama. Well, guess what that did? The Affordable Care Act guaranteed a medical loss ratio that allows insurance companies direct conflict with the employer plan that sponsors the employer who sponsors their health plan. What do I mean by that? Are you shocked that a law would not protect your business? Oh, stay tuned. No, it's actually protecting the health insurance companies. It guarantees them at least a 15% margin of every dollar spent on your medical plan. I'm going to say that again so it's clear. The Affordable Care Act guarantees 15%, 15 cents of every dollar paid in medical expenses, to guarantee that to the insurance company on a fully insured plan. Are you starting to feel the risk kind of settle in on things? Well, let's talk about another one. Insurance carrier networks and their discounts are an illusion. How many of us love going to shop for anything, any product, and find out that a business can mark up their price 10 times what their cost is, offer a 50% discount, and call it a PPO, and people funnel and drive everywhere to find that deal? Well, that's what we're doing with our fully insured medical plans. Right? They mark it up 10 times. They give you a 50% discount and say, we're good. We've got the best discounts. Please. Let's talk about case management. Back in the old days when Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kentucky existed, I speak from experience at the time, we had a medical management component that actually tracked how you were doing in course of treatment or therapy, and we would actually follow up with members on their medical plan to help make sure that we were in the right protocols to get people back to good, because back then it was a nonprofit, and that was something that everybody was interested in, getting people back to good. Well, today, the more procedures and drugs that are approved, thanks to the medical loss ratio we just mentioned, 15% guaranteed, the more drugs and procedures that are approved, the more money an insurance company makes. Wow. Guaranteed by the Affordable Care Act. It's no wonder we've seen rates go crazy and premiums go, or costs just go out the roof. Then we've got another issue. This is 4 of 9 we're talking about today, but how many of us have ever audited a claim? Where we can see where the money goes. We used to have at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kentucky, again, a fraud, waste, and abuse department, because they would look at things like upcoding, fraud, waste, and abuse in other areas, over prescribing medicines. I had one client that had a woman on there with 25 different prescriptions. There is no way in the world that's good medicine. If you have 25 different prescriptions to treat as many conditions as this is going on, there's got to be some sort of a disconnect, because certainly there's one condition that's more prioritized over another, and 25 different medical prescription therapies seems like a lot. What's more is talking about, you feel like you've got the world by the tail and there's no risk to being fully insured. Well, let's talk about these signed secret agreements with hospitals and providers that prohibit disclosure. Have you ever asked your fully insured medical plan for the quality scores on your providers that they accept into their network? You won't get them. And if you did, it could shock you, because some of these folks are bad actors. And I'm here to tell you that we see them on TV all the time. Provider contracts. Let's talk about this one. Provider contracts that are all snowflakes with varying discounts by provider. You've got all this lingo going out here. Percent off billed charges, allowable amounts, captivated fees, percent of recovered amounts, all in the contract, which you never get to see. If you'll recall, how many of us have seen a master contract come in like the old days from a fully insured carrier, where we actually have a chance to read and hold the master contract? We used to have to get those signed, but we haven't seen one come out in yay many years. It might be digital, but can you print a master contract out? No, says I, because I haven't seen one in 10 or 15 years. Well, let's talk about another issue, spread pricing. Those of us that have seen spread pricing are just astonished at what fully insured medical carriers are capable of in terms of spread pricing. And it's not just on the pharmacy side, where we see tremendous profit centers on spread pricing for prescription drugs, but they also have spread pricing baked into the medical piece. Imagine if the discount is based on an imaginary number and your premium is based on another imaginary number, and the payments to a provider are based on an imaginary number. Well, does that make any sense to any of us on imagine? Yeah, it does in imaginary life. But when you can create imaginary numbers on 3 levels, that gives them an opportunity at the insurance companies to actually generate a revenue from spread pricing on their PPO discounts. That makes a lot of sense to those that are on the insurance company side, and their stock prices prove that, because they know what they're doing. But yet we are buying once a year off a spreadsheet with a less bad renewal, and it's happening year and year and year and year over year. And let's talk about the other components of the build out. We talked about this last show where we talked about how the plans are built. We've got hidden profit margins, not just in the PPO discounting or on the prescription side, but you've got the TPA or the administrative services. You've got reserves that they say must be held back in order to cover the cost of future claims. We used to call those rate stabilization reserves. So we've got some money in an account for you in case you have a bad year, and we'll tip into that in case you do have a bad year. Otherwise, we'll just hold on to it for you. They're never going to send it back to you, and you really never see it credited when it's needed to be credited. But that's another opportunity for them to hide profit within your medical plan. Let's talk about the final straw is no pricing transparency on anything, so that a plan sponsor has no idea of what they're going to pay in advance. How many of us have been told you had a bad year? I've sat down with clients and prospects and talked to them about their fully insured medical renewal. And the first thing you say is, well, you've had a bad year. And then they come back to us and say, well, how do you know? I mean, give us a claims accounting of this bad year. Say, nope, can't have that. You're too small to get that level of detail. They just told me that was the case. So you can't, nothing to see here, move along, next renewal, we'll see what we can do. Or here's a spreadsheet, here's a 5% difference. Are you ready to make a move to a new company? And it's just repeating the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. It's insanity. So if you have a group health plan at your organization, no matter how it's structured, you're still sending lots of money to other people to provide health care for your employees and their families. Our followers know that we see a general trend in the industry to go self-insured with their medical plans versus fully insuring, because we see the risk on a fully insured being actually pretty risky when it comes to your money and how you track your money. When we're all entrepreneurs getting started, we're looking at every expense in the nickel and dime level, right? But then we get a bit too big to worry with it all, and we trust a third party to take care of our money for us, but they never give us an accounting of those dollars. And our firm's clientele have started to see where we've transitioned many of them from about 36%, we're seeing across the country 82% of groups 250 or more are self-funded. There's a reason for that. They have the fiduciary responsibility to maintain the benefits for and on behalf of the plan and its employees, its members. So shout out to our previous show. You're running a healthcare business, whether you realize it or not. And the great news is, my CFO and CEO and HR friends, you too can deliver great world-class health care to your employees at half the cost. There's a whole lot less risk in half the cost than there is at the full cost. And when you get into the next two parts of our three-part series, we'll be taking a deeper dive into these topics to help you drive a better value proposition so that you can identify any of the components of your medical plan that's not adding value. You identify that as waste, and in true supply chain management, if anything's not adding value, it's considered waste and has to be eliminated. And sometimes that could be your advisor who's not adding value with that spreadsheet. In a fully insured world, you may not have as much safety and a whole lot more risk than you realize. So if you're interested in learning more, I invite you to click on our website at www.bettersourcebenefits.com and click on the Get Started button to book some time with me, John Clay, your host and chief strategy guide. And I'm happy to take some time to invest in your business to show you how there may be a way to stop this madness and restore financial security to your employees and accountability to your bottom line. So that's it for today on Benefits with John Clay. We hope you'll tune in next week at this same time at 2 o'clock Eastern on the same bat time and same bat channel at Benefits with John Clay. Talk soon.